Chris Avina with American Outdoor News, and today we have with us Officer Tylor Thoman from Brevard County, Florida. Tylor, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Tylor, how long have you been on the job?
I've been with Brevard County for almost 4 years. And before that, I worked with Volusia County for a year and a half in corrections. So I'd say it's about 5.5 years in law enforcement in total.
Have you always wanted to be in law enforcement, or just kind of fell into it?
Yeah, my dad was a cop before me, so was my mom. So I can't think of anything else I ever wanted to do than law enforcement. I thought about the military for a little bit, but then kind of found my home in this career instead.
Well, you're pretty young. I mean, you're you're what, in your mid-20s?
I turned 29 in June, so I just turned 29.
Wow, you look young.
Yes, yeah, I'm lucky in that way.
Now, you were just awarded Officer of the Year.
Yes, I received Officer of the Year for my agency, for the Chief of Police Association in Brevard County, and for the NRA.
That's quite an honor. How does one get bestowed an honor like that?
All of them, obviously, they're nominated awards. So for me, I was involved in a on the job, an officer involved shooting, and some people around me decided that it fit for what I went through to be considered for those awards, but it's more so a group of other people that decide it based on kind of actions that you take throughout the year.
Now, I saw the video of that whole incident, and really scary, which a lot of people just, they take for granted. Can you walk us through the events leading up to that?
So when I was in patrol, I'm in investigations now, but when I was in patrol, I was a very proactive cop. I always had that drive to find the next big bust, to the chasing the bad guy all the time. That was just who I was, or even still am in investigations. But that day I was working criminal interdiction on the interstate, and we were out there just looking for really bad people, people that were trafficking in narcotics, human trafficking, guns, money, things like that. And I saw a car that stood out to me, had all the bells and whistles going off that this was the car, based on their driving pattern, their reaction to my law enforcement presence in my marked vehicle, things like that. So basically, once I saw that, I saw that there was traffic violations in the vehicle, made the traffic kind of started making contact with people in the vehicle, trying to identify people, things like that. And obviously, as we were getting through that process, things took a pretty seriously negative turn. And the backseat passenger, when asked to exit the vehicle, emerged with a short barrel carbine rifle, and needed to open fire on myself and another deputy on scene, Brian Potters. And it quickly went from looking for a bad guy to fighting for survival. He wasn't the average bad guy. He had made up his mind. He was there to, it was him or us. And there were points in the exchange where he aggressed on us with this short barrel rifle. With I wholeheartedly believe the intention of killing both myself and Brian Potters. Unfortunately for him, we both made it out of it alive. and unfortunately he did not. He succumbed to his wounds from the shooting, and we went to go on to live and experience time with our families. And
Now, a routine traffic stop, so to speak,
yeah,
can turn bad very quickly.
yeah, I believe they say the shooting, to my recollections, it feels like it's longer, but they say it lasted 40 seconds roughly. From the first shot to the last shot was approximately 40 seconds. I think in total the traffic stop was maybe 10 minutes or less. The vehicle came to a stop to the time that the shooting was over and that sort of thing. So it was under 10 minutes from first contact, I believe.
Does it, when you're in the moment, does everything feel like it's in slow motion, or it's just done, it's done?
It felt like the best way I can explain it, it felt like I was in like molasses, like you're in sludge. Your brain feels like everything is overwhelming and everything's slowing down, and in reality it's not. But to me, I felt like the entire from first shot to last shot, I felt like that incident was several minutes. I remember somebody asking me, and that was my answer, that I felt like it was at least 2 or more minutes of exchange of gunfire, but it actually wasn't. After watching the video.
How far were you? How far away were you from him? From the
From once I was in a position to be able to engage in a gunfight with him, and I was able to get into the gunfight. He was at the front of his car, and I was at the back of my patrol SUV. So I would say about 2 car lengths and maybe another 3 feet in between the cars. So not very far.
less than 20 feet.
I'd probably say a little, something like that.
A little further than that.
Yeah.
Still, that's pretty damn close.
At moments it was that far, and then at moments it was arm's length away. We were pretty close at the end of it.
So you and your partner are both, able to walk away from it. Was he wounded, your partner?
Yeah, he in the, I believe it was the midsection of his shin, and the round hit the shin and then kind of turned and rolled down his shin through his ankle and into the top of his foot, top of his heel, where I believe it got stopped or wedged there.
Wow.
So he had to undergo some surgeries for that to be able to heal and walk properly and those things.
Okay. Is he still active duty?
I'm sorry, you cut out for a second.
Is he still active duty? He's still on the job?
He still is currently employed by the agency as of right now. To the situation, he had some trauma to the front and rear of his head that he has not returned to duty yet. He's undergoing some of those some treatment for those issues.
Well, so you both able to walk away from it, so to speak.
Yeah.
How's the healing process afterwards?
I didn't have any actual injuries from the incident itself. For me, I was very lucky. I actually I had to look at the picture to remember it. I busted the blood vessels because I'm a right-handed shooter.
Yeah.
I gripped my gun so hard that I busted the blood vessels in the bottom of my hand. That was the extent of my injuries. Fear ultimately takes over to a point where you're down to your basic animal instincts of fight, flight, freeze, do what you can to survive. And that's where my injury came from. Brian, on the other hand, got shot in the leg, and then him and the suspect got into a kind of a physical altercation due to a malfunction or something that rendered the rifle basically out of battery, and it couldn't be remedied on scene. So he actually resulted to using the rifle as a bludgeoning tool to try and beat Brian to death with it,
Wow.
which it caused several fractures and serious injuries to Brian's front and rear of his head. So during that portion, Brian sustained some pretty heavy head injuries too. So for him, his process is a lot longer than mine, but he's got the recovery process for the mental side, the physical side, and then making sure that his brain is taken care of. Traumatic injuries that he received there.
Were there any traumatic or PTSD issues for you afterwards, or?
I joke with the sheriff occasionally about it. I was told the day of my shooting, they said that I was going to be put on admin leave, which we all expect, admin leave with pay, and
Sure.
so you're cleared to come back. I had extra duty, like off-duty detail scheduled that weekend, which was I think like 4 days away or 3 days away after my shooting. And I remember asking, "Am I going to be back in time to work these?" And he's like, "Everyone's like, probably not." So I wound up getting given 14 days off work, which I used as time to go visit my family. I have some family who lives up in Tennessee, my parents. So I went and visited my family, which was great for my mental health.
Sure.
I got to kind of decompress there for a while and then came back, went through the whole process. I will say you realize, or at least I realized for me personally, I find myself a little more aware than I was before. Not that I would say lackadaisical on that traffic stop or complacent on that traffic stop by any means. I think we both knew something was wrong there. We just didn't know what it was, and we were trying to get to that portion of the traffic stop, that portion of the investigation. But there were traffic stops before that where I will wholeheartedly admit I reached complacency where you don't think it'll ever be you.
Yep.
So I wouldn't necessarily say post-traumatic stress in a way, but as a very serious wake-up call that I'm able to come back to work and conduct traffic stops. Still occasionally work the interstate interdiction where I actually got into that incident out there working that. I still go back and work it occasionally, as much as I can, honestly. So for the most part, mentally, I think I'm good for now. I mean, obviously, you talk to some veterans and stuff like that I work with that say it could crop up later in life. So I try to focus heavily on my mental health, which I think will hopefully help me in the long term.
Through, time and experience, you become a little more cautious in the way you approach things. You're a little more, you analyze things before you step in.
Yeah, a little slower, taking an extra step back.
So now you're in investigations.
Yes, sir.
What does that entail?
So I work for one of our general crimes units. So I work most felony persons crimes. So we have specialty units for homicide, special victims for sex crimes and things like that. We work most of your stuff like an aggravated battery, stuff like that. We work burglaries to your house, your vehicle, stolen property that needs felony to get sent up to me or one of my partners in my current zone. And so we do that investigation there. And so if I get a case that say like a felony, someone broke in your house and stole some stuff out of there, that's the kind of stuff I work. Or if somebody shoots at somebody but they don't hit them or they don't kill them, then I'll work that case too. So we're kind of a jack of all trades in this current.
Well, in today's climate, what do you come across most often?
We in my zone currently, we deal with a lot of theft. And I don't know necessarily that can't really pinpoint it to one thing, like whether it's, you know, the influx of cost of living or if it's a drug related issue. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why people do what they do. We do a lot of more theft and more fraud, at least at this current time. But you get waves of different things throughout the year.
So it's on the rise right now.
I don't know if on the rise is the right term. It's just we're in a moment where for right now that's what we're dealing with more of is the thefts. At the beginning of the year, during tax season, we get a lot of frauds. So we get a lot of people that are trying to defraud people that comes in. So
Yeah.
you get it just all depends on almost what season it is.
Yeah.
It sounds weird.
It's like you get little bubbles of
Yep.
spurts of different crimes.
Yeah.
Huh. So what's next for you? Where do you see yourself going from here?
I will probably see myself being in a position for a little bit, just kind of building up that like that knowledge, that training and experience that way. I'd say I see myself here for at least 2 years or more.
Mhm.
There's a thought process in law enforcement that when you first become a cop, you don't know how to be a cop until you've been one for at least 3 years or longer. And I think that kind of holds true here. You don't know how to truly in-depth investigate a crime until you've been doing it for a while. So after that, then I'm very open to some more specialty investigative avenues, maybe something along the lines of our narcotics unit or something else. You never know. I mean, it could be anything. I guess it just depends on how I feel in a couple of years.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna start a little trouble here. How long before you run for sheriff?
I'm a little young for that. I don't think I have the experience to try and fill the shoes of Sheriff Ivy. He's doing what he's elected to do, and he's doing it great. So those of us here, we love him. Our community loves him. Because of the things he does, our community loves us.
Yeah.
I can't the work and the effort he puts into making a successful agency, a respected agency, and an agency that the community looks at us where, we're not mistreated by our community typically. We get respect and treated well by people.
So you find people in Florida are more officer friendly, or they're more,
I don't know about Florida in general, but at least the areas I've worked in, over here in Brevard County, working in Cape Canaveral, working in our North Precinct, our East Precinct, and stuff like that. I know for a fact you will get a different clientele between here and the larger cities like Miami or Orlando or Daytona, where I grew up over in Volusia County,
Yeah.
area. You get a different group of people. So it's nice here. It's nice here. I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. That's for sure.
So you won't be coming up to New York to be a police officer here.
Oh no. Oh no. We actually just got a couple of people who left New York and came to us. So it's
Yeah, they're leaving here in droves.
is the sheriff's office is recruiting heavily right now. I mean, and we have a sheriff that backs us. If you're doing it right and you're out here fulfilling the mission of the agency, and you're not, putting a bad light or a bad look on the agency, he'll back you all the way. And I think that's the one thing that so many people miss out on working at other agencies. So we're definitely small.
That's great. That's great. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on. I know you're at work, so you have things to do.
Yeah, I scheduled out a little time for this today, so my sergeant knows I'm good on my caseload. That way we could have this time to talk and make sure that we could get this story out to more people. You know, that it helps law enforcement around the nation. Watching, hearing what actually happened, and hearing our side of the story, mine and Brian's side of the story. We're hoping it helps make cops safer every day, and we're also hoping that it sheds light to the communities around us of the potential dangers in this career. You know, it's a 50-50 chance every time you respond to a call or talk to somebody or do a traffic stop or anything, that you begin the worst person you'll ever experience in your entire career. It's a flip of the coin every time. So,
Well, I come from a law enforcement family. My father, my uncle, my cousin, they were all on the job. And I know that you have one of the few jobs that your main job is to make it home at night. And
Yep.
That may or may not be possible depending on circumstance. And a lot of people neglect to see that or refuse to see it.
I'll definitely say, you know, I have a wife and a beautiful 3-month-old baby now, and I have my son, but I'll definitely say I will do everything I can to make it home alive every day. But we don't get that. Nobody gets the promise of tomorrow. But there are definitely times where, you know, we're going to a call that we know in the back of this one. You know, I mean, any one of them could be the one, but you're going to a certain call, and you know in the back of your head, this could be the one. So it's things that you have to be able to come to terms with. Otherwise, you won't be able to do the job the way you have to protect other people, yourself, your partners. You just kind of have to be able to put that thought behind you and go in and do your job to the best of your abilities.
Well, I certainly appreciate what you do, and you know the rest of the people that do it along with you. It definitely takes a team. It's not a solo job.
Yeah.
Hey, I definitely appreciate you guys, and I thank you for taking the time today to speak to us.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity, sir.
All right, you stay well, be safe, and hope to see you again at some of the shows.
Absolutely.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
We love our children. We protect them. We guide them. We prepare them for life in the world. With all that we do, from deep in our hearts, we cannot control all things. Life-threatening illnesses and disabilities affect far too many of our children each year. While we cannot change the circumstance, we can make dreams come true. Dreams to provide hope, to provide spiritual healing and strength, to provide moments of happiness and relief in the hardest of times. We can give a glimmer of light and hope in a time of darkness and despair. Join huntofalifetime.org to help make dreams come true, to provide hope for children with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Hunt of a Lifetime is a nonprofit organization fulfilling dreams for hunting and fishing trips to youth 21 and under with life-threatening illnesses and disabilities. Visit huntofalifetime.org to learn how you can make a difference.